Alright guys, Matt here, hope you're all good. So I'm going to be changing my strings today. So having done 2 shows, my strings are proper grubby. So I normally change strings for sessions and recordings and stuff. And we're recording today. I stayed over at Lizzie's last night because we're recording just down the road at BIM. So yeah, it's always nice to have fresh strings because these got a little bit grubby yesterday. We did two shows yesterday. And they're both outdoors, hot and sweaty. So it's a nice easy guitar to change strings on this one. It's got locking tuners. I would have done this last night, but I didn't get in until about 1 in the morning. So I normally take all the strings off at once. I know some people don't like to do that because of the stress on the neck. But if you want to clean the neck, it's much easier to do with all the strings off. But they're not off for very long, so it's fine. It's all good. Can be a bit of a tedious process to change strings for if you're not sort of used to doing it all the time. You can clean your strings, like boil them and stuff, but I just don't have time to do that, and I've never actually tried it, to be fair. Alright, so all the strings are off, so we have a naked guitar. You're probably wondering why I do this. I just do that to put onto the bridge. It's just a personal thing really. And so I normally just give it a once over with the cloth. So we had one outdoor gig during the day yesterday. This is with my other band, Top Guns. One in the evening was outdoors as well, but we just played one long set at each gig, so it was pretty intense. Last night was wicked. The crowd were awesome. We played Knockstock Fest, I think it was called, Knockstock. That was wicked. The other one was actually just down the road, which was Swan Fest. That was cool. It was like a big truck. Big outdoor truck that they converted into a big stage. PA was awesome. Great engineers. When you get a good sound, that is amazing. Instead, this is my PRS Custom 24. Got the telly over here as well because that needs restringing as well. I might have time to do that now, but if I do get time, I'll do that now. If not, I'll just do it later on. Fretboard probably doesn't really need doing. Sometimes I'll condition the fretboard. Sod it, let's do it. So I'm just using the PRS conditioner, fretboard conditioner for this fretboard. That's the one that came with the guitar. So you just put a little bit on cloth. You don't need a great deal actually. He says as he's pouring the entire bottle onto the cloth. And then just give it a quick once over. And that should just... It was a hot day yesterday, so probably dried the fretboard out a little bit, but apparently you don't need to do this very often actually, so there we go. Now one of these machine heads is a little bit loose, so I'm just going to go and grab my screwdriver. Right.
Do you want another coffee or anything?
Are you having one?
I might do, yeah.
Be bouncing off the walls, but that's fine, standard. Lizzie's going to make me coffee. So now I've fret dressed the board. I'm just going to wipe it down. Hey Lizzie! There she is. You might just be able to see her on camera. Let's turn the camera around. Yes. So wipe the fretboard down. And then we're ready to restring the old girl. She's actually quite old, this guitar. I bought this in 2010. I use these strings. These are D'Addario strings. One of the main reasons I used D'Addario strings when I was a kid was because of the coloured ball ends, which is cool. But they are actually really good strings as well. And I like them. And I have tried other strings, and yeah, these have always been my go-to strings. As I say, I have tried other strings, and at the time didn't get on with them for various reasons. Like some brands I found just like they broke really easily. So I've got locking tuners on this guitar, which is really handy. It means you don't have to do sort of loads of winds around the machine head. Yeah, it takes like seconds to put the strings on. Obviously with the Telecaster and the Les Paul that I'll be using today, that's a bit different because I don't have locking tuners. Now, I don't have perfect pitch, but I will try and get the strings fairly close to their tuning. There we go, string 6 done. Woo! It's always really important to try and store the ends of the string somewhere safe. The amount of times I've left them lying around and then actually accidentally stood on one and just caught the end in your foot, which isn't very nice. Alright, string A, string number 5, it's the red one. The other great thing about these is if you're in a hurry to change a string, then you can find the colours very, very quickly. So you get all the other string companies that just have the gold ends, and if you get like your strings 1, 2 and 3 mixed up and you're a bit of a hurry, sometimes it's hard to find that string quickly. And by the way, I'm not endorsed by D'Addario strings in any way, shape or form. There are other string brands out there, incidentally D'Addario if you are watching, but there you go. I've always used D'Addarios. It'd be kind of cool if I have managed to get, sounds pretty close. The only note reference I've got right now is the hairdryer next door. It's Lizzie getting ready for our session. So Lizzie's doing she's engineering. There is a video of our last session. We were in the studio a couple of weeks ago. We were doing the first track for the new EP. We're doing an album, but what we're doing is recording an EP as like a teaser for the album. Now whether those tracks that we're doing now end up on the album, we're not sure yet. I kind of hope they do, because they are. I'm really happy with the tracks we're recording for this EP, 2 of which I wrote the music for, and quite pinnacle for me and New Device actually. Although we all contribute to a lot of the production, the writing and all that kind of stuff, this will be the first time I've actually written music, and it's made it onto, I say made it's probably the wrong, so yeah, we've all written parts and all that kind of stuff, but I've like written like 4 tracks, 4 pieces of music, and then yeah, it's being used, which is really cool, which I'm very excited about. So we're doing an EP, so we're gonna release the 3 tracks that we're recording currently on that EP, and we're going to release some live tracks from a gig that we did at Under the Bridge. We recorded the whole set. One of those tracks is actually on YouTube, On Your Knees. There's a live version from that gig, so you can actually see the video footage from that. But yeah, it's from that gig that we're going to be putting on the EP. There's like 3 bonus tracks along with 3 new tracks that we're currently recording. Yes, I was saying a minute ago, there is some footage from our last session recording a few weeks ago at BIM. Just go onto our New Device page, it's on there. So once I've restrung all the strings, I'll go back and stretch them all in a few times. Some people don't like to change their strings before gigs, and I often actually do change strings before a show on the same day, but I will just make sure that the strings are really well stretched in. Okay, on to string number 2. I can usually change strings on this guitar fairly quickly because of the locking machine heads. That was a good match, wasn't it? Straight in there. There we go. Well, that was a fluke. Cool, on to string number 1. So these will need stretching in. Doesn't sound too far off. The thing is, when you've changed strings for over 20 years, you just get used to the sound of the strings, and I think a lot of people find it sometimes impressive if you can change strings on a guitar and get the strings fairly close. But you just have to remember that if you've been doing it for so many years, one, you get used to the tension on the string, and you get a rough idea of okay, right, strings are changed, so here we go, that's off. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. So there's a gap between the bridge and the body, so it's got a little bit of relief play both ways. It's just ever so slightly floating. That's why I put a cloth under there, so it doesn't like rest on the body. Well, I guess some people leave it on the body anyway, don't they? Depends how you have it set up. Right, let's have a listen. That's definitely flat. Alright, I'm going to try and tune it out with no reference, just for a laugh. It's always quite fun. I say I haven't got perfect pitch, but so I'm not using any reference apart from the hairdryer earlier, and I don't know what the hairdryer note was. Right, let's see how close I got that. Where's my phone? Let's find a note reference. Let's see how close it actually was. Okay, here we go. Let's listen to an E. Oh, so close, so close. Slightly flat. It's not bad though. And considering it's a fresh string as well, so it's going to keep going. There's like just a gnat away from it. That's not bad, really. Let's say, I'd say that's not down to perfect pitch. It's because you just get so used to what the strings sound like. I think it's just years of playing. Okay, so what I'll do. There we go. All right. So I'll just go through, get all the strings. There we go. And all I do is I'll just go through each string, give it a good stretch, and I'll do this about 2 or 3 times on each string. Obviously you have to be careful on the higher notes. And you'll find each time you do it, the string press there just one more time. And I'll do it like, I'll do some string stretches like when I get to the gig or the rehearsal session or whatever, recording session. And it should be all good. And we'll do that on every string. Do that a couple of times. Just get that nicely stretched in. So on the D. Each time you stretch in, it will stay that little bit closer to its pitch. It's very close. So if you're wondering why I'm playing the other string to get the current string in tune, it's because you get used to intervals. So interval is a gap between notes, and the distance between the A string and the D string is a fourth. You just get used to that, the sound of that interval. And it's interval training is something you have to do if you study music anyway. It's the same with the D and the G. Interval of a fourth. If you train your ears to recognise intervals, again it helps with when you're tuning your guitar. That's a fourth. I can't remember what that tune is, but it's like the wedding thing, isn't it? That's how I used to remember a perfect fourth. Alright, now the G and the B. Actually, I should do the G string again once more. The G string on this one is really good, generally. On the Les Paul, shit. Yeah, no, that definitely needs stretching in it again. Thin strings tend to take a little bit more stretching in because they're much, much thinner. So now, hopefully, on this final stretch, that should be alright. On the B string, the G and the B is an interval of a third. So, what we refer to as the happy interval. Major third. Oh, it's a bit flat. It is early in the morning and I've got tinnitus, so I'll forgive myself my slight inaccuracy. Alright, so yeah, just have to be really careful when stretching in the higher strings because obviously they're a lot thinner, and I have snapped my E string a few times when I've done it on the Telecaster. You've got a little bit of give in this guitar because obviously the bridge is going to move a little bit when you stretch them in, whereas if you're changing strings on a fixed bridge, there's no give whatsoever. So if you're pulling that string and you pull it too tight, you do run the risk of snapping it, which I have done on the E string a few times. Alright, so this is one you have to be a little bit careful on. This would be funny if I break the string, wouldn't it? Catch you on camera. It's about a semitone out. And stretching this, that's not too bad. The other thing you sometimes find as well, because the locking tuners, there's barely any wind around the machine head. So occasionally the string slips back through a little bit if I haven't sort of screwed the locking tuner down enough. Alright, now chances are, as I've been tuning it, it's probably gone a little bit off again anyway. Could just use a tuner if you wanted to, but this is good ear training. Yeah, a little bit flat, but not far off. Pretty close. There you go, you can hear it a bit clearer on the A there. Yeah, so they've all gone just a little bit flat, expectedly so. But as I say, when I get to my location, whether it's a gig or a session or whatever, I'll stretch them in a little bit again when I get there. They're sounding pretty cool. The other thing I do on the higher strings is just do some string bends. And I'll just stretch them in a little bit as well, without feeling like you're going to break the string. So a bit of that. Do a David Gilmour bend. And then it goes flat. Which I expected it to do. I say you could use a tuner, and you know sometimes it's quicker just to plug it straight into a tuner. Pretty close. That's a lovely chord, right? F sharp 7 with an 11, add 11. E, that's your flat 7 to the F sharp. And your B, same as the 4th, but we call it an 11th. Technically it's kind of the same as a 4th really. So she's restrung, she's ready to go. As I say, I will stretch the strings in again a little bit when we get there. But they should pretty much, you know, be all right now. There we have it, nicely fresh, restrung guitar, ready to rumble. All right, see you soon, folks.